So I'm from Sierra Leone, West Africa. I grew up in the capital city, Freetown. Sierra Leone is by tribe, so it's mostly tribalistic, where we have like 14 to 18 different tribes. I'm a Limba, I'm from the Limba tribe. My country was a hub where they actually captured hundreds and thousands of slaves that they actually sold through the transatlantic slave trade. And these are things that are not being hidden. So we're taught in our history about how these things happen. But I didn't know how extensive it actually went and how massive impacts went on a global scale. I mean, I understood that African Americans are descendants or with their ancestors back from Africa. But then doing this trip, I kind of realized how it's actually manifested, or some of the routes and route it took actually for it.
I belong to two different indigenous groups. One is technically non-indigenous. They're called the Garifunas, and they're descendants of people who were brought to the Americas to be enslaved. The other group that I belong is the Chortis, which are descendants of the Mayans. The Garifuna people arrived to Honduras over 250 years ago, and they were exiled from St. Vincent Island because they started a revolution there. They fought the French, they fought the British, so they finally were exiled and sent out in the ocean to die, basically. They calculate there was like over 2,500 people who were just kicked out of the island. So they end up in Roatán, Honduras, and then end up in the mainland and expand to Belize and Guatemala. So they have become very strong cultural groups in Honduras. They're the third largest population of the country, and the culture is very strong. They kind of have lived in the coast of Honduras in a way segregated, where they have been able to maintain the culture, the language, the food, their religion rituals. So if you look up Honduran culture, the main culture that you will see is the Garifuna people.
I was born and raised in India. My parents are Tibetan, and they not immigrated, but basically escaped, crossing the border from Tibet into Nepal, into India, to exile themselves from political persecution back in Tibet. We say communist China. We have formed our own settlements in a way to preserve our own culture. We have our own language, we have our own schools, we have our own mayor office and things like that. We have formed in terms of, political identity of our own kind of, system within another system or another country. Growing up in my community, we are taught about our political issue with China, the history, what happened when first China came in, how people died, and how our parents and ancestors had to leave their country to come to India to preserve their religion, preserve their culture.
I'm from Haiti. Haiti has played a vital role in shaping Black people's history, as we were the first to stand up for Black liberation. We were the first to permanently ban slavery of Black people. Race is something different compared to America, because most of the Haitian population is Black. There are not many issues related to race when we compare it to America, where it's a diverse country. We have many different cultures, many different ethnicities in America, so it's something different.
Well, back home, I'm from Ghana. I remember growing up, we used to hear like stories about how ancestors were sold by chiefs to go to like offshores to like countries like Brazil, North America, Europe, to go and work for them. Coming into this trip, like this civil rights tour trip, I've come to realize that that was actually not the case. 'Cause they came with like gunpowder, mirrors, trying to like bribe our chiefs with those things, because our chiefs had never seen those things, so like really intrigued about like, wow, what is this? In a way, they're kind of like incentivized to like kind of sell us. But if coming to look at it, you realize that it actually wasn't like their fault, because these were people who didn't have so much education back then.
So where I'm coming from, is a very remote place in Afghanistan. The minority of our population is made of our ethnicity, which is Hazara. Hazara people had a long history of genocide, and unfortunately it is still going on. It is taking people's lives in every aspect, like young children, old people, politicians, teachers, and especially journalists. The genocide of Hazara people has been long enough, even before the Taliban, before the formation of the Taliban. When I was in a civil rights store, I felt this strong connection with what has been going on with Black African Americans and what has been going on with my people.
Interracial education means to me
Everyone, regardless of their identity, ethnic group, has the ability to access education.
It's a space, a learning opportunity and platform where
You have blacks, you have whites, you have Latinos.
Arabs, Asians,
They are celebrated because of their differences and not despite of them.
Teaching about African American history, that means teaching about indigenous history, that means teaching about Latinx history, and just the different intricacies that help make up the American tapestry.
I understand the meaning of it and that it's beyond just skin color, but more so of equality.
So here, coming to Berea College, my perspective toward interracial education has been completely changed.
What I was when I started in this college is not what I am today. Like, I'm a very, very different person, not only with the knowledge that I acquired, but also like the decisions that I made that made me become who I am today, right?
And I see people from all backgrounds, from all different ideas, different culture, and different way of, educating themselves.
This place gave me opportunities to deepen my understanding of the world, but also dreaming about who I could become.
I see interracial education as a very powerful tool to improve a society.
Now I understand what diversity really looks like. Having a lot of differences around you all the time. People that come from all of these backgrounds and people that have these different perspectives, and all of them are unified through a dream in here of attaining a higher education. It reinforces this idea that we all share way more than we are different.